everybody, Pat here from West Corners Custom Cycles. Welcome back to the Underground Garage. As promised, it's literally been like 10 hours since I put up the last video about hauling this place out, so I could make room to do some build videos. So here we are, Harley Davidson 250. I'm going to see if I can get this thing going today, or within an 8-hour period. What I got to do is I got to pull the tank off of here. It's got some old lacquered up gas in it. I got to get that dumped out of there, rinse the tank out. I'm going to pull the pet cat off it, go through that, pull the carb off, go through that, and the ultrasonic cleaner down on the workbench. I will make a separate video of that, and I'll put it up on the channel in the carburetor rebuild playlist that I have, and I'll get the seat off of here. After that, I got to get the air cleaner back in it. That's in here somewhere. I got to hunt it down. And I also got to go get a new battery for it. I believe this is 6-volt. I have to double check. But anyway, once we get the battery, air cleaner, carburetor, pet cat, gas tank done, I think she'll be pretty much ready to fire up. It's missing the throttle right here. I'm going to pull it off the 1975 250 I have, put it on there, so that should take care of that. And I think after that, we'll be all ready to go. I think this thing will fire up and start. As long as we got sparking, I don't got an issue with wiring I got to chase. But all the wiring looks pretty much intact. Rolling over, seems like it's got good compression. So, all right. Well, I'm not going to make you watch me pull this seat and tank off. You guys can figure that out on your own without watching me do that. And I'm sure you can get the carburetor off the manifold and air cleaner. So when I get them off, we'll come back. I'll show you where I'm at, and I'll go do that carburetor video. Okay, be back in a bit. Okay, everybody, I'm back. As you can see, I got the tank, the seat pulled off of this. I went through the wiring a bit, looked that over to see if there was anything I could see that needed attention. It actually all looked pretty good. I found a couple of plugs that were undone and plugged them in. There's still a couple that are undone. One's just for this taillight assembly, so that shouldn't affect the starting and running. I'm also going to have to change the ignition out on this because this one doesn't have a key. The blue one I have out in the shed has a key. I know I've already looked at the wiring is a little different on this than it is on the 75. This is a 76. And so I think I can interchange them and make it work. The ignition looks the same. I just got to go through the wiring diagram, make sure it's hooked up right. All right, I also got this carburetor off of there. I'm going to take this in the house, take it down the basement on my workbench. I'm going to pull it all apart, run it through the ultrasonic cleaner, get this thing all cleaned up, readjusted, ready to go back on the bike. I'm going to make a separate video of that. And I'm going to put that up on the, not only is it going to be a part of this video, I'll show it in that, but it's also going to go up as its own individual video on my carburetor clean and rebuild playlist that I have on the channel. So if you're looking to rebuild any kind of carburetor, look on there. I've got quite a few of them on there. SS's, McCooney's, Kean, Del Ordos. So check it out. Anyway, all right, I'm going to get in there, get that done. I'll be back as soon as I get the carburetor cleaned out. We'll get it back on the bike here. Then I'm going to have to clean out the gas tank and make sure the pet cat's cleaned out. And after that, we just might be able to fire it up. I am going to get a new battery for it. I think the battery just runs the accessories. But just in case, I'll get that in there, and that won't be an issue either. I've already got the old battery I took out of the blue one, so I know what size I got to get. This is actually a 12-volt bike, not a 6-volt. It's 12-volt, 7-amp battery. So, all right, no further ado, let's get this carburetor cleaned out. Hey everybody, Pat here from West Corners Custom Cycles. Welcome back to the Underground Garage. Thank you for tuning in again. Today I have another carburetor rebuild video. This carburetor is a Del Ordo carburetor. It is a PHBE32. This carburetor here is actually a carburetor off of a Harley Davidson 250cc 1976 that I'm in the middle of doing right now. I have to rebuild this carburetor, and I wanted to do a rebuild video on it, or just a clean and adjust video. I'm going to put it on the playlist. I have a playlist on the channel of just carburetor rebuilding, all different kinds of carburetors. Check it out if you're looking for specific rebuild instructions. Okay, what I have here today, like I said, is a Del Ordo PHBE carburetor for a two-stroke 250. I'm going to pull it apart here. I'm going to get it in the ultrasonic cleaner. It's probably just off camera from where you guys are watching. I got it all heated up and ready to go. It's a pretty simple carburetor. I'm going to bring you guys over here so you can get a better look at what's going on, show you the tools you're going to need to do it, and let's get into it. All right, this is probably all the tools you're going to need to redo this. A pair of pliers, that's basically just for pulling the pin out on the floats. 17 millimeter wrench goes on the bottom of here so you can pull off the float bowl. This also houses the main jet. Phillips head, I don't think we're going to need. The only thing I seen on here was, where are we? 1, 2, 3 screws, and they're all flatheads. So, let's get this pulled apart. This here is the fuel inlet. You pop this off. Make sure I'm in frame here, yeah. Yeah, pop this off. And underneath it, you'll see there's a little screen. The screen pops right out of here like that. Careful you don't poke a hole in it like I almost just did. Okay, I am going to poke a hole in it if I'm not. What else we got here? Hang on. See what I can dig it out of there with. There we go. All right. This is the inlet for the gas. I guess we'll start with pulling that float bowl off of there. As I said, this nut here, there's quite a bit of crud in there. Houses your main jet. So we will pop that off of there. See if you can see in there. Not horrible. I've seen worse. All right. There's some crud in there, though, down on the bottom. Looks like it's lacquered up a bit, and I know it is because I could smell it in the gas tank when I took that off the bike. So, see if we can pull this pin out of here. Come on, girl. I think she's coming. Oh boy, she does not want to cooperate. All right, I'll be back in a second. All right, I'm back. That took a second. This rod right here came out of this hole right here. Went right through here. Somebody had the end of it all knurled up a little bit. Oh no, yeah, it is knurled. It took a second to get it out of there. So this is how you take the float out. Lift this up. And you'll see on the bottom here, See this part right here? That goes down in that hole. You'll see, I don't know how well, there's a clip there that it goes in. Take it out of there. Don't lose it. You can see the end of it's tapered. Inspect it, make sure it looks good, that it doesn't look all destroyed. Down inside this hole, there's a taper that this sets down into. And when this float goes up and down, that's what opens it up and closes it and lets gas in and out of the float bowl. Fills up the float bowl. All right. This here's the main jet. Oh, that screwdriver ain't fitting that so well. This is your main jet. Come up here closer. Main, secondary, and then this here is for your choke circuit. Now this main jet goes in, and I can see it is plugged right up solid. So I'm going to pull the secondary one here. And if I haven't said it enough times, when you're working on carburetors, when you go to put them back together, that one I can see a little daylight through. So that one's all right. Don't, no gorillas. You don't have to crush these things putting them back in. It's just gently snug whatever you're taking out. Okay, there we go. Now, there's little holes in here. You're going to want to poke all this stuff out. You're going to want to poke down through the end here. Right down through the end, there's a hole. Make sure this is all cleaned out. Make sure these jets are cleaned out, primary and secondary. And then down this hole, let's see if I can get it out of there. Screwdriver will work or not. Yeah, this one might not work so well. Be careful of the screwdriver. Yeah, that one don't want to come out of there. I'm going to have to get a different screwdriver to get that out of there. Hang on a second, guys. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Had to go out in the garage and actually kind of make a screwdriver for this. See how screwdrivers taper out on the sides? Well, I had to shave one down so that it would fit down this hole. And I'll leave this here. It's a nice tool to have for all my carburetor work. Coming out of there a little, I'm sure there's plenty of lacquered up gas in the threads. There we go. Now this emulsion tube, they call it. Get that out of the way. There's a little tube, and if you look at it, I thought it would have holes in it. Okay, I don't see any holes in the side of it. Either way, make sure it's out. Make sure you clean it real good. The passage that it goes down in, you want to make sure all this stuff's cleaned out good. Now we're going to get to the... Now, what I didn't tell you is the slide that goes down on the top of this carburetor. It's held down with 2 screws. It'll only go in one way. I don't know how well you can see. There's little tabs sticking out on this side of the carburetor, and there's a slot in the side of the slide, so it'll only go in one way. Plus, these are offset screws. It'll only go in one way. You don't got to worry about that. But that's just the slide with the needle on it that goes down into this main jet. So I didn't bother bringing that in to clean. It looked pretty clean. I can just spray it off with some carb cleaner. Now the rest of this right here, and we're going to pull out, is the fuel mixture screw. Now remember, as I always tell you with these screws on the side here, the adjustment screws, always turn them in and count how many turns they are out before you take them all the way out. Like this one here, I'll show you. Get up here, you can see it better. That's half. That's one. That's 1.5. 2. Yeah. Say 2 and a little less than 1/4 is where they had it. So now we can take that all the way out because we know where it was. So when we put it back together, we turn it to that. Hopefully, at some point in time, this was adjusted right so that you can fire it right up once we get it back together. And it's a good thing we're cleaning this. There's a lot of crud on some of this stuff. That's your adjustment needle. That's for the fuel mixture. Now let's see where this one is. That's like closed. Yeah. I'll have to see what's going on with all this once we get it back on the bike and get her to fire up. I've certainly played with carburetors before that people have been into, and even though I countered it, you know, and kept like this to put it back where it was, it did not run the way it should, and I had to readjust things. So this here has a spring on it. I'll set that off to the side. And if you look in here, see if I can get it with this. Do not want that to go flying. There we go. This needle here I showed you for your fuel adjustment mixture also has a spring that goes on it. Do not lose it. I just came out of there when I was trying to get this washer out of here. Now that washer goes on there like this on top of the spring on the bigger one. And where that goes, there is an O-ring underneath that washer. Another thing we got to get out. It's right in here. I don't know how well you can see it, but let me see if I can get it out of there. There it is. No, looks more like a flat gasket than an O-ring. I do have a rebuild kit for this. Right here, we'll open it in a second. But that's it now. Now your carburetor is completely stripped down. Oh, nope, I forgot one thing. your choke here. That comes up like that. Gives you access to the flathead screw. I don't know if we needed a screw that long, but hey, we know it's not coming out. Just wiggle it up out of there. Got an O-ring on it, so it's going to come up right here out of it just a little. You may have to work at it for a pinch. See the O-ring right here. All right. And that goes back in the same way. Pop it back down in there, put your screw on there. What this does, when you flip this lever up like this, it takes this brass rod, which will be inside of this side hole here, and that'll make it go up and down. That's what opens that choke hole there. All right. Now I'm going to take all this stuff, get it in the ultrasonic cleaner right there, and get this all cleaned up, get it back together, and get it back on the bike. All right, be back in a second. Okay, everybody, I'm back. I opened up this kit, as you can see down on the bottom here, PHBE. That's the carburetor we're redoing. As you can see here in the side of it, PHBE 32, Del Ordo, made in Italy. Okay, now look at how clean this thing came out. This ultrasonic cleaner does such a nice job on these carburetors. Makes everything like brand new. That's the bowl. I don't know if you remember what that looked like when I showed you inside earlier, but it's like new. Okay, this gasket here, rubber O-ring, I've already put it around the inside of here in the groove. This orange O-ring here, I've already put it on the screw that it goes on, the new one. As you can see, this was the screen that's the new one from the kit. Replacement gaskets, the darker one's the old one. And then on these rubber O-rings, this is the new one. This one's the old one. It's a little more flattened out. So, we're going to put this thing back together. Isn't going to take but a minute. We take the emulsion tube. Goes down the center. Boop. Just like that. Take our screwdriver. Screw it in. And just snug it up. You don't got to go crazy on it. Then we put our main jet in on top of that. Again, you don't got to go crazy. Snug it down. Now, this is for your choke circuit. Little tube. Goes right down here in the corner. Snug it up. And then over here in this little hole goes your secondary jet. Screw that back down in there. Now all this stuff I poked out, made sure everything was really clean. Took a little bit because this stuff happened to be pretty dirty. These jets had a lot of stuff in them. Okay, now we're going to put the float together. Take the float. Going to take this little guy here, this little tab on the end, goes right in here. Oh, just like that. It should hang just like that. Okay. Then, see where we are. Make sure you guys can see this. Take the part that's hanging there. Let's see where it's going. Right down in that hole. And then we're going to take this bar here. Going to go right in the end. And all the way through there. And then it's going to be sticking out a little here. Just tap it lightly. That's all you need. It isn't coming out. Once you put the float ball on, it won't, the side of the float ball won't allow it to come out. So you don't need to beat it in there. Okay. Make sure that when you're raising that up and down, I don't know how well you can see right in there at the end of my finger. You want to make sure that's going up and down the way it should. All right. This seems to be working fine. Now, going to take our float ball, turn it upside down. Boom, put it on. Like I said, I put a new O-ring in here, so that should seal real nicely. This is the nut that goes on over it. Screws onto the main jet. Snug that down with your fingers. Grab your 17 millimeter wrench. Again, no Hercules. You're just snugging that down enough for that O-ring to seal around here. Okay, now we're going to take our idle adjustment screw, and if you remember, I told you there's a washer goes on top of that spring, and then over here, remember we took this O-ring out, we got to put the new one in, so that goes right on top of it. And that'll hold everything together so it doesn't fall apart, you don't lose nothing. Just like that. Then we're going to screw that down in there. Okay, what am I missing? Oh, wrong hole. There we go. Now, if you remember, when we put this in, this goes right next to the where the fuel line hooks up. I'll show you that in a second. But remember when we took this out, this was snugged all the way down. It might have been backed off just a pinch, but we'll see once we get it on the bike and go to adjust everything up. I'm just going to snug it down with my fingers by hand. That's it. This is your fuel adjustment screw. Goes in right there next to it. Now, if you remember, I told you to screw these all the way in. We counted how much it was out, and it was just a little over 2 turns. So we'll screw this all the way down in gently, very gently, people, just till it snugs up. Okay. Remember, it was about 2 1/4, a little less, so There you go. There's half, 1, 2, or no, 1.5, 2, and I'll give it almost a quarter. Oh, I forgot something. On the bottom of this nut, I got to put a gasket, or we're going to have a leak. That's where this gasket goes. Just drop it on there. I have to get it down on there. Snug that up. Turn it back over. Now remember, we took our choke circuit out. Now this goes right back down in there like that. You're going to have to twist it a little bit. It's got an O-ring on it. You got to fit back down in there. Then take the tapered screw. Screw with the tapered head. Now this is a steel screw going into an aluminum body. So do not crank it down. You'll rip the threads out of the aluminum body. Just snug it up. Like I keep saying, anything on carburetors, you just snug up. That's all you need. That's it. Okay, choke circuit. Now, to check this choke circuit, there's a hole inside the side of the carburetor here. You can't really see too well. But you're going to want to, if you look in there with some light, there's a piece of brass in there, and you want to make sure that goes down and closes that whole hole when this is down. When it's up, it should open that hole. Okay. Now, last thing is the line hookup. There's a gasket that goes on here. I already have it on the screw. Take your new screen, put it in there, just like that. Doesn't matter which way it goes. Screw it in there. Okay, it's a 10 mil. These are Italian, so they are metric. Snug that up pretty good because you don't want it to leak. And there you go, people. That is one PHBE 32. Now the 32 means 32 millimeter carburetor, just so you know. Del Ordo, made in Italy for the, well, this one happened to come off of a 250 Aramaki Harley Davidson. And I'm going to go get this back on that bike. Then I'm going to clean out the gas tank on it and see if we can't fire this up. All right. See you guys in a bit. Okay, everybody. I'm back. Carburetor's all cleaned out, ready to go. I'm going to get it back here on the bike. Like I said, I got to get the tank all cleaned out and stuff. I did take the liberty of going through and switching out the ignition switch with the key. So hopefully this is going to work okay. I didn't bother filming that because I figured there isn't going to be a lot of people switching one from a 75 to a 76. If you ever come to the need to do so, just make sure you got a wiring diagram to go by and hook everything up right. All right, so let's get on this tank, okay? I'll be back in a minute when this is on the bike, and we'll go through the tank and the pet cot. Be back in a second. Okay, everybody, I'm back. I got the carburetor on the bike. I also went digging around and dug up all the stuff that I had for this bike that I bought actually for the blue bike. This is air cleaner setup. I actually got more than what I thought I had. This is a brand new set of grips. Let's see, what else do we got? We got the original owner's manual. And I believe these are the original stickers that go on the side covers. Yeah, that's the original sticker that goes on the side cover. And I do have the side covers. Ta-da! Now these are actually Alla Verde 250, it says. It's Italian because these are actually Italian bikes. I don't know what that means. I could probably Google it and find out, but anybody knows, leave let us know in the comments. Okay, I'm going to bring you over here so you can see this. As you can see, carburetor is back on the bike. I got to get the air filter back in here. I just wanted to go through this wiring, so I'm going to leave that out until I get that all straightened out. And now we're going to go outside, and I'm going to show you this gas tank. Dump the old gas out of it. Going to put some fresh gas in it and rinse that out, and we'll get that taken care of. All right, let's get outside. All right, here we are. I hosed this thing off, get some of the crud off it. Got some fresh gas in there. And shake that all around. Okay. Now I'm going to pull this petcock off of here. Let's see how clean that got that inside. It's not really horrible. So, pull this off. Now the screen's hammered. I have to see if I can get a new screen. I don't hear it moving around in there. So that's where we're at. I'm going to take this petcock downstairs and go through it. I actually do have another one in the garage that I can rop the screen off of, just so we can get through this project. All right, I'll see you down on the workbench and where the ultrasonic cleaner is. All right, everybody, we're down here on the workbench. Got the petcock here. Got this nut off. Had to screw it off of the petcock right here. And there's actually two sides to this. As you see, I screwed it off the tank, and then this part screws off the petcock itself right there where my thumb is. Now this is the destroyed screen. That's garbage. This is a gasket that was in there. That might be garbage too. Looks like it. But look at the crud on this. So we'll get this all cleaned up. I'll pull it apart and we'll get her in the ultrasonic cleaner. All right. Get some of this stuff wiped off of here. All the excess I can. And that would certainly help. That's what I thought. I think there's another hole right here next to this. And right here. And it is just full of crud. See if I got a small screwdriver I can dig some of that out with. All right. Let's pull this apart. Yeah, off, on, off, and reserve. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of a diaphragm behind this. Haven't been in one of these before. So we're taking this little venture together. Okay. That doesn't look too horrible. But boy, that one hole right here is just plugged. What happens is your fuel in your tank runs down until it hits this point. Once it gets to this point, you run out of gas and you got to flip it over to reserve, and then it takes fuel from this hole down here, the one I got to clean out. So you have that much gas before you run out completely. To get to a gas station and get her taken care of, stuff is just hard too. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. Look at all the stuff coming out of there. All right. I'm not going to make you watch me dig all that out. I'm going to clean it out and get her hoed out the best I can. Then we'll come back and get her in the ultrasonic cleaner. All right. See you in a minute. All right, I'm back. That took a minute or two. As you can see, got that hole all cleaned out real good. This tube coming down here was really, really plugged up. I cleaned it up a little bit on the outside too. Had to keep screwing the screw down there and pulling stuff out till I finally got through. Now I got this all apart. I showed you how that all came apart, but I forgot there is a diaphragm in here. As you can see, so be very, very gentle when you take that out. Not to hurt it. Looks the same on both sides to me. I don't see any difference. Okay. Well, we will throw this all in the basket. Now, there was also, on this, there's a ring here. That's actually metal. And there's another one, and that's like, I don't know, it looks like plastic almost. But all this is going to go in there. Hopefully, when we get it back together, it won't leak. I'll throw that in there for the heck of it. And this will replace that. I told you this is all messed up. This is going right in the garbage. This is one I had on another petcock out in the garage. And we'll stick that on there for now. When I go to put that other petcock back on a bike, I will see if I can track some of those down. I'm going to need 3 or 4 of them, I think, with all the projects that are out there. So, I'll set this down in there like so. Like I said, just set it down in there and put the lid back on it. Hit on, let that run for about 5 minutes. I'll come back and get it out of here and we'll put it all back together. Then we can get that back on the bike and get the tank back on the bike. See you in a minute. All right, everybody, it just shut off. Get all this stuff out of here. I love how clean this makes everything. It's ridiculous. Okay. Unplug that. Now I'll get all this stuff dried off. Blown out. Alright. It's amazing the job this does. This is that plastic neoprene ring. It's like new now. Well, you can see it. And this is the metal one that goes on top of it. Okay, we got everything. I guess I didn't need to do that screen again. Alright, there we go. Now we get to put it back together. Not really a whole lot to it, as you remember. You take this part. Like I said, I don't really see much of a difference on either side. I didn't anyway. That seems to fit in there. Now, this part, I'll put the plastic neoprene on it. Take the metal one and put it on it. And when I took it out of here, I made note in my head that it is straight up and down like that, or was. We'll line up the holes. Get them both started before you snug one of them down. Now, hopefully, when I get this back on the bike, it won't leak. Okay, remember I told you earlier I thought this gasket was pretty much done for. I still think that. But I'm going to throw it on here anyway, because I don't have anything else to put on there. And we'll see if it does its job or not. And this went down on top of that. And then our nut. And that's only going to go on one way. One's side's bigger than the other. Okay. This one has backwards threads. Get my trusty adjustable wrench. And we'll snug that down. You don't got to go crazy. You just don't want it to leak there, and you got the rubber gasket and the plastic on the end of this to keep it. Now this screen will keep all the junk out of there that we just cleaned out of there. There it is, ready to go back on the bike. All right, I'm going to go out and get this back in the tank. There you have it. Petcock for 1976 SS250. All cleaned out and ready to go. All right, let's go get this in the tank. Okay, everybody, I went out and got the tank. Let's get this petcock married up back to the tank. And I'll try and stay in frame here where you guys can see what's going on. Now, I got the nut loose here. It's got threads on the bottom that go on to the petcock itself. And the threads up here that go onto the tank, the ones on the petcock are reversed and the ones on the tank are normal. So I put this in here and then I get the threads started, and as I turn it, it draws it down not only onto the tank but also onto the petcock. So it started on the tank, but it didn't start on the... Okay. Okay, we're going to try and start that first. Okay, I caught a thread. Okay. Now as I screw them together, it draws down on both of them. And that way I can point this, the petcock, where I want it to be. And then snug it up. I'm trying to stay out of your guys' way. There. And there we are. All back together, should work fine. I blew through it last night, went through the different stages. Seems to be holding and shutting off when it should. So I'm going to go get this back on the bike. And I just want to take a minute, catch everybody up on where we are right now. As some of you probably figured out, this did not go down in one day like I had intended it to. I am still within the 8-hour parameter I was giving myself, but I'm coming up on that pretty quick too. I wanted to break down, tell you where I am, how much time I've got into it, what I've got left to do. I've got about 2 hours, honestly, into switching the ignitions out because I had to go through all the wiring on both of the bikes, and they're different. And I made a diagram for both of them so I could walk back and forth and knew where all the wires went. The other thing is there's 3 different ignitions that went on these things. It says in the manual A, B, and C. So depending on which ones, I'm hoping they're interchangeable on these 2. They're only not even a year apart. So that may be an issue. We'll find out. I got about an hour into breaking down the carburetor, running it through the ultrasonic cleaner, getting that back together. I got about an hour and a half into doing the same thing with the petcock and cleaning out the tank, and, getting it back together, putting the 2 back together. And now I got to get it on the bike. But and then I got about another hour removing parts off the bike, getting the tank off, the seat off, the air cleaner off, the air box that was on it. And, there was time, like I said, that's why it took me about 2 hours with the ignition, because I had to not only go through the wiring, I had to take the ignition off both bikes, switch them around, put them back on, plug everything back in on both bikes. So if and when I get to the 75, we will have all the wires still in the same place. So that's where I'm at with that. So we're looking at about 5.5 hours in. Things I still got left to do: throttle. I got to either take one off to 75. I do have a 175 out there because I'm trying to keep it all original. I could get one off Amazon, no big deal. You can go that route too. I got to make sure all the electric is good, and I have spark. We haven't done that yet. That's going to be the next project, making sure I got spark, and I got to get a 12 volt, 7 amp battery, stick that in there and hook that up. I guess the battery runs accessories on this. I think they're 2 separate systems. I'm going to have to double check on that and the ignition system. So that's where we're at. We're about 5.5 hours in. That's what I got left to do. We're going to see if we can't start this thing today. It's actually like 9 o'clock in the morning. The part where I went through the petcock was actually last night about 7 o'clock. So I've got some time today. I'm going to see if I can't get all this put back together and at least get an IV bottle on it and get it started. And we'll go from there. Hopefully it'll have spark without too much trouble. And as long as I got spark gas and air, we'll fire this up. All right. See you in a bit. Hey, everybody. Okay, we're back out in the underground garage. As you can see, I got the petcock on the tank. It's over here with the seat. Don't want to put either one of them on yet because I want to take a look at this wiring, figure out, make sure we got spark. Another thing I got to do is the oil in this. I checked the dipstick, nothing's reading on it, so I don't know if anything's in there. I'm going to get under it right now, pull the drain plug, and see what comes out of it. We'll go from there. Now, these are metric bikes, so it's finger tight. Might explain why there's nothing in it. Anyway, these things are metric. So this will be a 25 millimeter. I can't believe the size of the drain plug. It's like 1 inch. Okay. As you can see, we're getting some nastiness out of there. Not much. Maybe a shot glass or 2 full. So I'm going to get some oil. Get this plug back in there and tightened up, clean out the magnet on the end of it. Now this takes just a little over a quart of 40 weight down the transmission on it. It has an oil pump that mixes oil with the gas because it's two-stroke. When they use this backbone of the bike as the oil tank, there's a fill right here. You can't see it from where the camera is. And there's a line running right here off the back of it that goes down to the oil pump. But we're not going to do that because those oil pumps are notorious for messing up and then you blow your motor because it's not giving your motor oil. So, going to get this back in, put a quart of oil in it, and that part will be taken care of. Then I'm going to jump on electric. Be back in a second. All right, I brought you around the other side here so you can see a little better what's going on. I don't know if that helps or not. Let me see. Not really. Of course, it's right in the way. But anyway, this is your oil fill and dipstick. So, like I said, there's nothing showing on there. Our trusty funnel. Like I said, this takes a pinch over a quart, so I'm going to throw a quart in there. Call it good. I saw a guy on TV, on YouTube. He said it called for about a quart and a quarter. He put a quart and a quarter in, he was up over the full line. So I'm going to go a quart. All right, this small funnel is going to take a minute. I'll be right back. Okay. That's the last of it. Got the whole cord in there. Let's see where we're at. Stand it up straight. Sorry about that. And see where we're at. I don't know how well you can see right in the middle of the two lines. So it should be good. I could put a pinch more in there, but it's in between the low and the max line, so it's good. It says check it without screwing the cap in. So actually screwing the cap in will probably bring it up to the full mark. Okay. Now, that's in it. We're going to mix the gas and oil ahead of time because I don't trust that fuel pump and I don't want to blow up the motor. So we're going to move on to spark and wiring. I do got another spark plug right here that I'm going to stick in the end of the wire, ground it out. We're just going to kick it and see what happens. If we got spark, amen, what a blessing, but I'm not holding my breath for that one. Get it where I can see it and get that off of there. Now, let's see. Well, that was good. No spark. I didn't think I saw any, so I just grabbed it and kicked it. Obviously, the return spring on that kicker's not working very well. Okay, well, now I'm going to jump back to the manual and make sure I don't need a battery in this thing to get spark out of it. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, everybody. Where we left off was yesterday afternoon. It was Sunday. I went running around looking for a battery. Didn't have a big selection because every place was closed. So today's Monday morning. I come out here and I look under the bike, and as you can see, there's oil on the ground. Now I thought maybe it was coming from the gasket around the drain plug. Turns out that it's actually coming from the gasket on the side cover over here. So I may wind up having to pull that kicker off of there and that side cover and put a new gasket on it. But for right now, I'm going to clean up what's on the floor, get a catch pan under it, and then we're going to go back to working on spark on this. All right, be right back. All right, everybody. Ran into a problem with getting a battery in this thing. I absolutely could not. I mean, I might have if I searched around enough on the internet, but around here in town, I could not find a battery, either lead acid or a gel battery that was the same dimensions as the original battery. Now this is 3.5 by 5.5 long this way, and it fit exactly into this little battery basket that goes in the bike. So I figured, okay, I could use one of these. It's 6 inches long. It's not even 3 wide, and I would just stick it up this way and I wouldn't have an issue. Problem with that is air box comes down to about here. So that wasn't going to work. So I took this battery, and since this basket is 5.5 inches long, I had to modify it. Now, this bend right here used to be a 1/2 inch over farther where my fingernail is. And what I did is I bent it down, flattened it all out, went over a 1/2 inch and rebent the bracket here. But in doing that, I took this hole right here. It used to be up a 1/4 inch higher because I took that out of the bottom here. So now that's down lower. And this rubber grommet goes in that hole just to cushion the battery and keep it from rubbing on metal. So what I'm going to have to do is just cut a piece off the bottom of this right here, and then it'll fit back in that hole down there. And as you can see, since I did the modification, this battery fits in there. And if you can see it over here, has just enough room for that rubber grommet. So that ought to all work out perfect. I've already tried it. It fits in the bike good. I'm just gonna modify this and put it back in there. I'm gonna take you out and show you how it goes in, how it fits in there, because this side over here actually is touching right up against the back of the plastic chain guard. I was afraid it was going to push it over into the chain since I extended it a 1/2 inch, but everything worked out perfect through the miracle of chance. Motorcycle gods were smiling on us today. All right, let me cut that, get it in there, and we'll get outside. Okay. I'll show you. We're going to cut this right across the bottom there, so we still have this nipple right here to go through the hole. Guess I need a sharper blade. There we go. That's all I wanted to do with it. Get it pulled back through this hole. Like so. And as you can see, It's back where it should be. It's going to cushion the end of the battery while it's in there. Just like so. Fits nice and snug on both sides. So we're good to go. All right, let's go get this in the bike. Okay, I hope you guys can see this. I'm trying to get all these wires out of the way for you, but the way this goes in here, this tab right here has a little slot right in back of this regulator here that pops into. So it's got to kind of go into that first. Let's see if we can illuminate this a little bit for you without getting in the way. So I got to stick this down in here. Get that popped in the little slot in the back. And then just snap that down in like that. And that's how it fits in there. Works just nice. Now, get the battery down in there. Okay, there you go. Now, up in here, up in the front, right across the front here, it's about a 1/4 inch gap in front of the battery. So I may fold up a little piece of cardboard or something and stick it down there just to, you know, keep it from moving around and keep it in place where, but the side to side, it doesn't go anywhere. And like I said, it's only got a little bit. I'll put a piece of cardboard or a piece of wood down the front there to keep it in place. But that's how I took care of that problem. Don't know if anybody else out there is going to have the same problem, but if you do, that's what I did to fix it. All right, let's get this battery hooked up, get the ignition on, and see if that helped with spark at all. Be back in a second. All right, everybody, I'm back. I just want to bring you up to speed here. First off, we didn't get this done in one day or within the 8-hour time limit I gave myself. No big deal. That was just something I imposed on myself. Reason being is I've got everything done. I've gone through the wiring. I got the battery in, and I'm getting power up to the ignition switch, but not through the ignition switch out to where it needs to go. So I think there's something wrong internally in the ignition switch. I'm going to pull that apart, see if I can't solve it myself. I also got a couple of calls out to a couple of people that I get parts for these Aramakis from the Italian Harley Davidson 2-strokes, and trying to chase down an ignition. They're absolutely impossible to find, and if I do, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. But I want to show you one of the freakiest things that ever happened to me in my entire motorcycle, car, whatever building career. About 15 years ago, a good friend of mine, the reason I got into motorcycling, the guy that kind of inspired me, his name was Warren. He lived here in Endicott. About 15 years ago, he packed up, moved to Florida with his wife, kind of liquidated everything in his garage. I got all his old Harley manuals, and it was really weird because one of the manuals that I got is the one that I need for this 250 that we're working on. But that's not the strange part. The really strange part is I got this 15 years ago. I picked up the bike probably 3 years ago. I'm having the problem with the ignition. So I was looking through the wiring the other night, and I was sitting on my bed and I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to figure out how I can bypass what and hook them together to hotwire the bike and have lights. And I was getting a little frustrated, so I just kind of closed the book and tossed it on the bed next to me. And lo and behold, written down on the back of this book, I don't know, I'm going to bring you over here so you can see it, is exactly step by step how to hotwire this ignition and still have lights. It was like the motorcycle gods just smiled down and said, here's what you need to know. So let me get you over here. You got to check this out. Okay, we're in here. This is really hard to read. I never even noticed it was written on there until I threw it there on the bed and I saw some running and I was wondering what the heck it said. But I'll try and bring it up here so you can see it a little better. It says right here, ignition with lights. Or it says how to hot wire with lights. Up here it says ignition switch, $6.80. And it says like lights, $8. And it says Saturday 9 to 5. And I can't read this. Monday 8, I think it is. Anyway, right here it says ignition with lights. And then it says red wires, 2 on each terminal. Now there is 2 terminals on this ignition switch that both have 2 red wires going to them. It says 1, hook hot red to green and black wire. Jumper also to yellow. And then it says step 2, hook together other half, I think it says. Red wire to white and black wire. Now, the white and black wire, I think, is for starting the bike, not just for lights, but I'll have to double check. 3, hook green wires to green wires. 4, hook orange to orange wires. And then down on the bottom here, it's got a guy's name. It says Gary Gable, it looks like, and there's a faint phone number, it looks like here. I can't really make it out, but it's absolutely blowing my mind that the one thing I do need to get this bike started, I've already gone through the whole fuel system, tank, petcot, carburetor. I think the wiring's all straight and ready to go. The one thing I need, I all of a sudden found just by throwing this book on the bed, and I happened to glance over and see it. So I'm going to take this manual and all the information that's written down here on the back. I'm going to go over it with a black Sharpie to try and, preserve what's written here and just see if I can't decipher it a little better. Just to make sure what's written down here I can use. But all right, tune in next week. I'm going to get out in the garage right now. I'm going to start applying this to see if I can't hotwire the bike. Plus, I'm going to pull that ignition apart, see if I can't straighten that around, and see if we can't use it. But tune in next week. We'll see if we can't get this thing running. Sorry I didn't get it up and running in this episode, but that's the way things go sometimes. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But I will get it going. So tune in next week. Till then, ride safe, be good to each other, live life behind bars, and I'll catch you in the next video. All right, peace out.